If you think of hard work in anime, there are a few characters that definitely come to mind. But you may not have heard of Kenichi Shirahama. Kenichi is one of the best examples of an archetypical underdog protagonist in Shonen, so I think it's time to show some love to this series and its protagonist. If you're new to anime, or at least someone who was around but never got into this series, I'd encourage you to watch it. I'm going to try and avoid major spoilers in this video, but if you want to go into the series completely blind, you can do that and be sure to come back later. Now, if you've seen tons of anime, there are definitely going to be elements here that may seem generic or tired to you at this point. But it comes with the territory. I personally would call this an entry-level anime. Not in the sense that it's bad, more like it's a primer. It's got everything that makes shonen anime what it is in one package. What makes Kenichi unique as a protagonist is that in-universe, he's just some guy. Ippo is also a man powered by his will and desire to get stronger, but he starts off with stories that say hard work is the key to success often have protagonists with something special about them. I remember there being a big thing about how Neji was right because of Naruto being a Jinchuriki. Kenichi, on the other hand, is completely devoid of any of this stuff, which is really what makes him stand out to me. He's not a genius either, so there's no special mental boon that he has. His unwavering spirit and will to push forward, however, shows itself as his strongest asset. In short, Kenichi is like what you imagined a shonen protagonist was before you got into anime. In short, if you like Rock Lee and what he's about, you'll find Kenichi similarly appealing. He never gives up while training, and that's basically how he gets stronger. I personally really like what the manga does with Kenichi's design. Over the course of the series, you can see him build very dense muscle, not really getting huge, but you can tell he's got serious strength. In general, the characters, wallpapers, and everything else has got that wonderful 2000s anime look that I adore. I'm not really sure how to describe it in words, but you know what I mean if you really look at it. Watching this anime might make you feel nostalgic, like you're really falling into the world of anime for the first time all over again. It's got action, fan service, training montages, just some of the general hallmarks that make anime appealing as a medium. Or at least shonen, which means it reminds you of the first time you saw this stuff. And the manga art can be shockingly dynamic when it wants to be, so don't miss out on that. The manga has a different aesthetic, which happens with a lot of series. But in this case, I think both styles are good for their own reasons, the anime mostly if you want to feel nostalgic. Keep in mind, this show is about martial arts, but it's not like the other stuff I've covered on this channel. Don't expect some crazy, detailed choreography or anything of the sort, because Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple is a shonen anime first and a martial arts anime second. The martial arts are the power system here, which give users some crazy abilities. The concepts that are real are shown in a highly exaggerated way. In that sense, you could compare it to Baki, but a version of it that doesn't even try to convince you the stuff is plausible. The joy of this series to me is that it reminds me of what martial arts looked like before I got into them. You have these incredibly powerful masters, either deceptively strong or built like trucks, who are able to punch through steel, strike faster than the eye can see, and throw a guy across a room with zero effort. Plus, the wacky training methods are always entertaining. And the best part about it is it reminds us that martial arts can be taken up by someone as ordinary and pathetic as Kenichi, eventually turning him into a serious force to be reckoned with. It's a power system that you can learn to use in real life. Beyond individual characters or series, Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple shows us this specific benefit of martial arts, that they are just really cool, and that's a major part of what makes it so fun for me to watch. I'll introduce the story if you're still not convinced. Kenichi is a bullied kid, as you might have expected, and he actually dislikes violence. But on one fateful day, he meets a girl named Miyu Furinji. She takes him to her grandfather's dojo, called Ryozanpaku, and this is basically the main hub of the series. It feels like a lot of the series is just him training there, which adds a lot of comedy and slice of life elements, and also helps us to get to know the main cast. You've obviously got Miyu and her grandfather, Hayato Furinji, the invincible Superman. Hayato is basically the Yujiro of this manga, the unbeatable benchmark. There are other martial artists staying there. These masters include Shigure Kosaka, a weapons user, Apachai Hopachai, a Nakmoe, Shio Sakaki, a karateka, Kensei Ma, a kung fu man, and Akisame Koitsuji, a jiu-jitsu master and Ryozanpaku's resident philosopher. Crazy coincidence, by the way, that all these masters are pretty much the absolute best at their respective styles. Kenichi works perfectly with the Ryo-Sanpaku masters precisely because he starts with nothing. It makes him a blank page. His lack of talent turns into his greatest asset with the help of his friends and masters. So he can absorb every skill and every lesson and every style they teach because there was never anything for him to unlearn. And more than that, despite starting off as physically weak, Kenichi has one very powerful trait: his willingness to work hard. It's his strongest asset. So, with Ryo-Sanpaku's guidance, Kenichi grows physically and mentally strong, learning not to use martial arts to subjugate others. This is one of the big lessons from the show, and, as you might have guessed, there are enemies with this exact philosophy. Throughout the series, Kenichi fights the bad guys while combining every single one of his martial arts to truly become history's strongest disciple. That's right, cross-training is an actual superpower in the world of Kenichi. Kenichi is, I think, what would happen if Rock Lee was the protagonist of his own show. The only reason he seems absurdly talented to his foes is because he created that talent with his willpower. He created his strength with his own two hands. Non-stop hard work is the only thing he's got, so he pushes that to the point where he's a serious threat to the actual gifted and more experienced villains around him. The anime by itself is really just one massive training arc, but it's not a series that really falls into non-stop intensity. It's pretty lighthearted, but that doesn't take away from the more impactful moments when they do happen. Every major step Kenichi takes towards becoming a true martial artist, getting closer to the heights his masters have reached, feels earned. In fact, his first few wins feel like pure luck. Despite learning some moves and getting physically stronger, he only really makes contact because his opponents open themselves up. It takes a while before you even see him recognize or create openings and take advantage of them on purpose. His training progress is quite slow, to the point where the story beats might really get repetitive, but I think the payoff is definitely worth it. So if you're looking for a straightforward, feel-good shonen to watch with lots of ecchi elements, check this out. If you've seen the series or read the whole thing, let me know what you think about it and what you like best. What's your favorite moment and who is best girl? I personally like the OVAs, and I still think that Kenichi could use a revival season or a movie as a sort of remake. They could do what they did for Berserk's Golden Age and just make movies to cover a single arc. In any case, leave a like and comment for the algorithm, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned.